We are the Columbus Chew, and this is our Week 11 match versus the Detroit Steel Wings and Crimson Seabad. As you can see from team matchup, we're brought back a lot of things that we used against Crimson the first time, but we've tweaked the team in order to be able to try and win. Much like last time, he leads with Cofagrigus. We'll be starting out with the Arbiter, who has U-turn, as well as a Scarf, so it will be able to scout and get out. We get the Mummy ability that does nothing as we switch out, but we are able to bring in something that can face us a little bit better. Corruption will come out, and turn 1 we get Mummy, which is amazing. Not. And it is going to knock off our Eviolite, which is extremely unfortunate. We try to set up the Toxic on this Cofagrigus, but we miss, allowing him to set up 1 layer of Stealth Rocks for free. Amazing. We do connect the second Toxic, but he is able to set up 2 full layers of Toxic Spikes for pretty much free. It's already looking to be in our favor. We don't have anything to absorb the spikes, and we did not bring anything this week in order to get rid of them. He switches out Backdraft, his Suicune. It is shiny, which is beautiful. We hit it with a Thunderbolt, which does not do nearly enough. Really wish we would have dropped the double Toxic. Backdraft is going to set up a substitute. After seeing that our first Thunderbolt did 25%, we did not think he would do that, but he does, predicting our Toxic. He will set up a Calm Mind this turn, which is starting to get very scary. We don't have anything to come in and phase this out, and this could quickly become a problem for the team, especially if it's packing Rest. We go for the Thunderbolt, and after the Calm Mind, it is unfortunately unable to break the substitute. Backdraft goes for a second Calm Mind. We will go for another Thunderbolt in order to break the substitute. After a required 3 turns to break the substitute, he has got back more health than he expended making the substitute, putting us in a very unfortunate situation as it has set up 3 Calm Minds. Backdraft will be setting up another substitute, as we just outright Thunderbolt, as we don't want him to get to a point where it takes more than 2 Thunderbolts to break a substitute. Even if he sets up a Calm Mind, we believe that Porygon 2 has more than enough power to break this with a second Thunderbolt. He does have quite a few Calm Minds set up at this point, but this Thunderbolt should still be able to break this substitute, which it does. The substitute fades, and Suicune is left at about half health. Backdraft again will continue to set up substitutes, and we will be continuing to Thunderbolt to make this thing as low of possible health before it attacks. Even without the Eviolite, Porygon 2 should be able to take 1 attack at this range. Let's see if it can. Corruption takes that fairly comfortably, even though the Suicune has set up many Calm Minds. The substitute is still fading after 2 Thunderbolts, which is excellent. because it will not allow this thing to continue to set up on us. Crimson gets impatient and goes for another Surf, which will take out Corruption at this time. But at that point, Corruption had no other recourse but to continue to pressure this to either knock it out or take Suicune to a point where its health would be so low that a Hyper Voice from Mega Gardevoir would possibly kill it. Backdraft is going to knock off the leftovers. Wasn't certain if it would stay in at this point, but we do take a Surf, which will take out Retribution. But without the leftovers, the Suicune has no way to recoup its health. Phoenix will come out. Cofagrigus will be switched in. And Phoenix will activate its Z Supersonic Strike. This is powered by Horn Drill, so it will not be the max damage. Supersonic Sky Strike goes off, and this being a defensive Cofagrigus, it will not do 50%. But with this Cofagrigus being toxic, it will slowly be whittled down. It will instantly switch out as Phoenix goes for Horn Drill, which Kangaskhan avoids because it is so easy to dance around when you have a child tucked into your stomach pouch. Kangaskhan goes for a Facade, which is stabbed but not boosted at this point by any form of status. So thinking that we would switch up our moves here, it goes out into his Hounddog to eat a flying attack. We go for the mirror move, anticipating another Facade, which doesn't happen unfortunately, and the mirror move fails. Hippowdon comes down. Its Rocky Helmet activates, taking a little bit of health from the Hounddog as it attacks. Crimson sends Mountain Lady back out. Bane, the Hippowdon, uses Toxic, and it puts this Kangaskhan on a timer with Toxic Poisoning. Combined with the Sandstorm damage negating the leftovers, this thing will not be able to stand long in front of Hippowdon. Mountain Lady will set up Wishes, as it is its only hope to last versus Hippowdon. Hippowdon goes for the Earthquake, as it does quite a bit of damage to everything left on Crimson's team. As the toxic damage begins to rack up on both Pokemon, it is at a point where Kangaskhan has to switch out or go for Protect. Kangaskhan will switch into Backdraft to pass the fattest of Wishes onto the Suicune. At this point, Bane has no choice but to slack off or possibly go down to the amount of poison damage that will be racked up from Toxic. And because Mountain Lady is a big mama, that Wish almost completely fills Suicune's health back. Bane is forced to switch out as Dirge switches in. Having very high special attack, it should be able to take any hits fairly well from the Suicune. Dirge traces the pressure, and Suicune goes for the outright Surf, not wanting to set up a substitute or Calm Mind. The Sandstorm subsides, and after turn toxic damage is accrued. Gardevoir will Mega Evolve and go for the Hyper Voice. Hyper Voice does not do nearly enough damage, and this Surf is going to do quite a bit. Fortunately enough for us, it will not put us low enough to where we will go down to the toxic damage. Cofagrigus is switched back out as Dirge goes for another Hyper Voice. This Hyper Voice will be enough to take out the Cofagrigus, and the Pokemon that caused us so much trouble last time is taken out. Tangela, not Tangrowth, Tangrowth's baby brother comes out and reveals that it is a Scarf variant. This is very good information to know, as it will be locked into whatever move it chooses to go for. That Giga Drain does a lot of damage, and Drill Run will go off, not being very effective, predicting the switch out there. Unfortunately, a second Giga Drain will be enough to take out Phoenix. Not sure if that was a min-max roll after the first Giga Drain, was fairly confident we would survive another one, but that is not the case. Manaphy is our last hope to win this. It being Scarfed will outspeed everything on Crimson's team that we've seen so far. Ice Beam is our best move, as it will hit anything coming in outside of the Infernape for super effective, or for neutral damage. Backdraft will come back in at this point. Unfortunately, Stealth Rocks were not set. That little bit of extra damage would have been excellent at this point in the match. An Ice Beam goes off as Crimson chooses to set up a Calm Mind and try and get back to a favorable position with this Suicune. The toxic damage slowly begins to accrue as the turns drag on, with Arbiter being out on the field. Bane comes back out, setting up the sand to help whittle down the Mons on Crimson's team. The last move on the Suicune is revealed to be a Signal Beam. Now at +1, trying to preserve this switch in, Arbiter is sent back out thinking the Surf would be coming, which is a resisted attack. Even though it's +1, it's not going to do a huge amount of damage to Manaphy. Unfortunately, the Sandstorm will do damage to both Pokemon, taking out the Suicune. Arbiter is not sitting very well. The Tangela comes out. It will be double switched out, bringing out the Infernape, and this should have been scouted. This was a very late game misplay. U-turn should have been clicked there. It would have saved us a turn of poison, a Sandstorm turn, and we would have had Hippowdon sitting in front of this thing, as opposed to needing to be switched out into it. Late game Stealth Rocks will be set up here, which is extremely unfortunate. After the after turn effects, and what is essentially an extra turn of poison that didn't need to be taken, Hippowdon will go down to this Flare Blitz, and not having as much health, the damage will be done. The Stealth Rocks have been set, the sandstorm will subside, and the last chance for victory, Manaphy comes out. And the only chance we have to win is if an Ice Beam would have been enough to kill, and it wouldn't have at that point. So Crimson wins 3-0 versus the Columbus Chew. This is another unacceptable loss caused by a very late game lack of clarity. The U-turn should have been used that last time against the Tangela, and that would have put us in a much better position overall, but that was not the case, and the Columbus Chew fall another step farther down the ladder on their attempt to tear down the establishment that is the GBA. We are the Columbus Chew.